Welcome back to The Lost Tactician, where we uncover the intersection of history's greatest engineering feats and the survival strategies that shaped civilizations. Today, we're venturing into a mystery that has captivated archaeologists and engineers alike: the secret behind Rome's seemingly immortal infrastructure. But this isn't just another story about Roman concrete. We're diving deeper into the clay vessels that carried the empire's lifeblood, to ask a provocative question. What if the very amphorae that transported wine and oil across the Mediterranean held a forgotten preservation technique that could revolutionize how we protect timber from decay today? Stand among the ruins of Rome and you'll witness stone arches that have weathered 2 millennia of storms, concrete harbors still resisting the sea's relentless assault, and wooden pilings submerged beneath ancient bridges that refuse to surrender to rot. The image of Roman permanence has become almost mythical, leading many to wonder if the ancients possessed some lost chemical wisdom, a secret compound that rendered their materials impervious to time's decay. When you see timber structures from antiquity still bearing weight, still holding form, it's natural to assume some extraordinary preservation method was at play. This assumption has spawned countless theories, from mystical treatments to alchemical compounds, each attempting to explain what seems impossible: wood surviving when it should have crumbled to dust centuries ago. The allure of this mystery deepens when we consider the Roman amphora, those ubiquitous clay vessels that once numbered in the hundreds of millions across the empire. These terracotta containers, sealed with resinous compounds and mineral treatments, have been discovered in shipwrecks and storage facilities, their interiors still bearing traces of pine tar, beeswax, and lime-based sealants. Could these very substances, designed to waterproof pottery and flavor wine, have possessed unexpected preservative properties? Could the Romans have applied these same treatments to construction timber, creating a barrier against moisture, fungi, and the wood-boring insects that are timber's eternal enemies? The hypothesis is seductive in its simplicity. If these compounds could preserve liquids for months-long voyages across treacherous seas, why couldn't they preserve the structural skeleton of the empire itself? But here's where the survival tactician's mindset demands we separate romantic speculation from battlefield reality. The truth about Roman timber preservation is far more pragmatic than mystical, rooted not in secret compounds but in environmental awareness and material science that any soldier establishing a long-term encampment would recognize instinctively. Chemical analyses of amphora residues reveal that the pine resin coating served 2 primary purposes: creating waterproof seals for porous ceramic and imparting the distinctive resinous flavor to wine that Romans preferred, the ancestor of modern Greek retsina. These sealants were never intended for, nor practically suited to, large-scale timber treatment. Consider the sheer volume of material required. Treating the wooden foundations of a single bridge or harbour would demand quantities of pine tar far exceeding what was used for an entire fleet of wine vessels. The archaeological record tells a different story about Roman timber success, one grounded in principles any wilderness survivor would recognize. The wooden pilings that endure beneath Roman structures survived not because of chemical treatment, but because they were submerged in waterlogged, oxygen-depleted mud. This anaerobic environment, where fungi and decay organisms cannot survive, acts as a natural time capsule. You can observe the same principle in bog bodies preserved for millennia or in timber recovered from shipwrecks after centuries underwater. The Romans understood this instinctively, driving oak pilings deep into riverbeds where perpetual submersion guaranteed longevity. Where timber remained above the waterline, Romans employed different strategies, selecting inherently durable hardwoods like oak whose dense grain and natural tannins resist decay, charring surfaces that would contact soil, creating a temporary carbonized barrier, and most importantly, engineering structures that kept timber dry through clever drainage and elevation. The real preservation techniques Romans used reflect a sophisticated understanding of environmental control rather than chemical intervention. Their timber framing method, opus craticium, utilized simple mortise and tenon joints in a rapid construction technique that acknowledged timber's perishable nature. Unlike their concrete, which they engineered for permanence, Roman timber structures were often treated as temporary or replaceable components within a larger stone and concrete framework. When they needed timber to last, they didn't rely on miracle treatments. They relied on the fundamental principle that has guided survival experts for millennia: control moisture, control decay. Keep wood completely dry, or keep it completely submerged, and it will outlast generations. Expose it to cycles of wet and dry, and even the best treated timber will eventually fail. This reality check doesn't diminish Roman engineering, it elevates it. The Romans succeeded because they understood their materials' limitations and worked within them, just as any skilled tactician works within the constraints of terrain and resources. They chose battlefields carefully, positioned their forces where natural advantages could be maximized, and never relied on magical thinking when practical solutions existed. The same philosophy guided their construction: oak for underwater pilings because it could withstand submersion, pine tar for ships' hulls where constant reapplication was feasible, charred posts for temporary fortifications, and stone for everything meant to outlast memory. What can we extract from this investigation that serves the modern builder, the prepper, the tactician planning for long-term sustainability? First, beware the seductive appeal of lost secrets and ancient mysteries when proven methods already exist. Modern wood preservation science has developed treatments far superior to anything available in antiquity, from pressure-treated lumber to synthetic preservatives that create genuine barriers against biological decay. But the Roman lesson remains valuable. The best preservation is environmental control. Whether you're constructing a survival shelter or planning infrastructure for a homestead, understanding that moisture management trumps chemical treatment will serve you better than any coating. Elevate your timber off the ground, ensure proper drainage, select naturally durable species, and engineer ventilation to prevent moisture accumulation. The amphora sealants weren't a secret to unlock modern decay problems, but the Roman mindset certainly is. They didn't wait for perfect solutions. They observed, experimented, adapted, and built systems that acknowledged material limitations while maximizing available resources. That tactical pragmatism, that refusal to rely on wishful thinking, is the real inheritance worth claiming from Roman engineering. When modern structures fail prematurely, it's rarely because we lack better chemicals than the ancients possessed. It's because we've ignored the fundamental environmental principles they respected. If this investigation into the reality behind Roman preservation has changed how you think about ancient engineering and modern survival, hit that like button and share this video with anyone who appreciates history grounded in practical wisdom rather than romantic speculation. Subscribe to The Lost Tactician for more deep dives into how our ancestors survived, built, and endured through tactical thinking rather than lost secrets, because understanding what actually worked and why is worth more than any mythical formula. Stay tactical, stay grounded, and we'll see you in the next investigation.